Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase, highlighting the many indie games we play here on the channel. If you'd like to submit a game for a future video, please reach out. But otherwise, let's begin. We are starting things off with Sephonie. This is the latest game from the developers of Anodyne, and is a mix of 3D platforming, puzzle solving, and some unusual skateboarding physics. We play as three researchers who have come to a mysterious island in order to study the local wildlife, but soon discover some strange things going on that could lead to very well the end of life as we know it. And of course, in order to save the day, we're going to do what all platforming heroes do, and that is run and jump. So the kind of movement tech in this game is a little bit different from what we normally see from 3D platformers. As I said, the developers have kind of taken like skateboarding physics into how movement works. When you hold down the run button, your character kind of goes into this auto movement as you see right here. You can then use this to run up walls or use them as a form of transportation. You can dash in the air, and you'll be using other upgrades that you find throughout the world in order to move through each one of the game's several biomes. Hidden in each biome are going to be bonus collectibles, and more importantly, the weird life forms that you can study. And this takes in the form of a puzzle slash combat style, where you will need to match shapes in order to gain points. You need to have enough points built up over each turn to kind of act as a buffer. If you don't do that, you'll take a hit. And your job is to fill up the bar all the way to kind of fully research the creature. And there will be additional tile rules, combo multipliers, and so on, along with boss fights that change things up each turn. And the boss fights, or the major creatures, typically act as your progression gates, which will unlock additional tech, new areas, so on and so forth. So this is definitely a mix of some very different designs. And my one issue that I have with this game is that if you're going into this kind of expecting like the technical mastery or exploration of space of, say, a game like Demon Turf or like a Mario style game, Sephonie is not really going to work for you. The platforming is more akin to kind of environmental puzzle solving, kind of like a Tomb Raider or Prince of Persia, where you're trying to get from point A to point B, as opposed to having a variety of movement techs or a variety of ways of exploring the space. And you also have to be in this for the puzzle solving, although the game does have options to make it easier for you if you're wanting to just focus on the platforming system. But I would say there is definitely something here that is very interesting for fans looking for a very different style of game. And if you miss this and you are interested in something that doesn't quite play like a traditional 3D platformer, then I would recommend checking out Sephonie. And now we turn to Dopemine Arena. Please keep in mind that the footage you're seeing is taken from pre-early access and probably doesn't represent the current version of the game. This is another in the Vampire Survivor, Bullet Heaven, however you want to call them likes. And this is one that definitely comes really close to kind of emulating the same, I guess, movement and just aggressiveness that can happen in Vampire Survivors. Your mission, as always, is to survive for as long as you can while things become more and more damaging and dangerous. This game does have that similar feature of finding different combinations of items that can create super versions and alter their own abilities. And this one is definitely on the harder side. Enemies are far faster, and you're really going to need to build up movement speed and enough attack power early on before you are overwhelmed. Now, when I played the pre-alpha version of this game, one of the things that the developer was trying to do is have kind of like a special extended mode, that once you survive the basic minutes, you then have the game getting harder, which also earns you more rewards, and it's just about lasting as long as you can before you are overtaken. There's of course persistent unlocks and so on in that respect as well. All in all, I did like what I was seeing from this one. If you're looking for, I guess, now we gotta say traditional VS like, then I would at least give this one a check. We now turn to Backpack Hero. This is a game that I first tried this when it was on itch and was eagerly waiting for it to go on Steam. It went into early access as of 2022, and what you see may not represent exactly the current version of the game. But this is, I guess, the closest comparison would be a deck building roguelike, except your deck is your backpack. How this all works is you have a magic backpack, and all your stats, attacks, and special items and so on are based on where things are and what you have in your backpack. So there are certain things that will synergize or penalize you based on their position. For instance, you cannot have your boots anywhere other than the most bottom row in your backpack. Likewise, your helmet must be at the top. Then there are items that can synergize if they're connected to other weapons, other items, such as giving you more defense, thorns, lifesteal, all that really great stuff. And your challenge in this one is not only figuring out what kind of build you want to focus on, but also how you're going to fit all this stuff in your backpack, which the backpack itself levels up as you play through the game. There are additional characters with their own unique weapons, their own unique rules that go with it, and this is again one of those roguelikes where it can either be very, very easy, you can stumble upon some really game-breaking combos, or if you get unlucky, the game will crush you. And since I played this one, I know the developer was working on a persistent element or persistence system that was not in the version that I played, but there have been additional characters added. I really enjoyed this one. It has that same great feel of a deck builder, with trying to figure out how you're going to make these crazy builds work, and of course the joy when you do, hopefully, end up breaking the game because of it. And the only reason why I don't play this one more on stream is simply because I don't want to get burnt out, and I will be more than happy to play this quite a lot when it is released. But if you are looking for another roguelike style game, and one that has a really great premise and concept to it, definitely recommend Backpack Hero. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have 3 more games for this week's showcase. If you're interested in my thoughts on design, then be sure to check out my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 Essential Games to Study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with more coming soon. Now up is Astro Ace. This is a kind of minimalist arcade style game along the lines of Asteroids, but with more things trying to shoot you. Your mission is to save the planet from waves of enemies, asteroids, and, well, anything and everything that's going to be coming on screen to get you. You are limited to the one screen itself, and as you play, you unlock different ships, different weapons, and that kind of thing. All in all, this is definitely a shorter experience. And as I've said, I'm not a huge kind of arcade style fan anymore. And this one is, again, on that very short engagement loop. If you're looking for, again, a short and sweet game to play, then I think this could be a decent one to check out. But if you're hoping for one that has more persistence or a little bit more meat on the spaceship, then this one may be a little too simplistic for you. Now, going in the opposite direction, we have Quijote, Quest for Glory. Now, the game's store page shows that it's still in early access. I don't know if it's still being worked on or how it differs from the version that we played. But this is a kind of tactical strategy deck builder following the story of Don Quixote. Each mission will have you using cards in different ways. There's kind of like an exploration system that you can see right here, where you'll use cards to move around, interact, and try and complete your objective. And then there's this kind of combat mode, where you'll use different cards and try and match them up against the opponents in order to deliver damage and of course not take any from you. And the store page does promote that the game will really follow the story of Don Quixote and try to give almost like an educational spin on the tale itself. The main issue that I had with this game is that it felt very unwieldy to play. Both the kind of movement around the system and then the tactical combat system just didn't really feel right in terms of control and gameplay, and it felt like one of those games where everything is being done differently to think outside of the box, but it doesn't necessarily flow as well because of it. Now, I don't know if things have been changed or adjusted since we played this, but I do like the educational spin on the game, and it is genuinely trying to do something differently with the genre. So if you're looking for a game that is definitely going to be more on the complicated side, I would at least give this one a check. But if you're hoping for kind of the playability or the approachability of, say, a Slay the Spire, Monster Train, etc., then this game may not be quite there yet. And for the last game of our showcase today, this is Princess Farmer. This is a visual novel meets Match 3 style game. You play as a farmer who one day discovers that you have been blessed with the power of a magical girl, and now you are Princess Farmer, who must save the day while growing and picking crops. But the game itself is told through visual novel format, as each episode takes place across different stages as you'll complete various challenges. The gameplay here again is Match 3 style. You're able to pick up various crops and then place them down in different spots as you're attempting to match 3 or more in a row. There are combos for getting multiple things set up, and the game introduces different challenges as things go on, such as requiring you to do certain combo multipliers or collect specific vegetables in order to move things along. Each level will also grade you, and there's bonus things to find, characters to date, and so on. The game is definitely high on the charming scale. If you're looking for a very difficult game, I don't think this one is quite going to be it for you. The bonus challenges will test your ability to do this Match 3, but if you're hoping for, again, something that's far more on the brutal side, this game definitely is aiming more for like a casual or more for an audience that's looking for a relaxing or low stakes time. But I was enjoying this one, and it is a great game to play if you're looking for a puzzle game to unwind with. But with that said, we're going to wrap up this week's showcase. As always, I would like to thank the developers who submitted games. You'll find links to all the titles down below. And if you'd like me to tailor your game for a future video and stream, please reach out. Do the bell ringing, like getting, and YouTube stuff people tell you to do. Be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.